I decided to put this video out because I probably got some unique insight into some of this stuff. Now, this is just a BS picture, of millennials looking at their tablets and smartphones and laptops, which, whatever. I'm not, the video is not about this picture, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you one thing. I think that there's a big advantage today. It's like the information you can get online. It's freaking great. Um, Give an example. Like I have a couple old cars and stuff, a few old cars. I got an old motorcycle. Boy, back in the day when a car was 10 years old, it used to be a real pain in the neck to get parts for it sometimes because it was 10 years old. You couldn't go online. There was no online. You go to a place, they wouldn't have it. It's out of stock because now, hey, I go on eBay or something, I find it. I find it on eBay, whatever. And that's cool, I like that garbage. And that also helps commerce too, because if you got something weird that you can sell, and it's not like, you got a global audience out there, right? If you want to sell whatever the hell, whatever you're good at producing, you could sell it online, right? Which is that's another thing. That's actually part of the economic opportunity that's available for millennials today. But I can tell you, there's downsides to all this garbage. And also, this stuff with the internet. Swear to God, I hate this garbage. Big Brother is watching you, man. It is. This is what sucks about the internet. Not only are they doing profiles on what your spending habits are, but who knows? Someday in the future, they're probably going to give you a score to see how well you are with going along with the government or something. Now, I got to tell you, I got to comment a little bit about this stuff. I don't like millennials today as a generation. There's more of them that are educated with college, even though they're straddled with all kinds of debt. Um, because the fees went up. See, education became more and more of a racket. Actually, education always was a racket. And I'm probably going to go a little long on this damn video, but I'm going to tell you some things about education where it's almost like BS. First off, and I've experienced this now, I'm in my 60s, right? I'm a boomer, right? But I've experienced the same damn thing. You go to college and you do all this work and you go through all this crap and you work for minimum wage to pay for it plus your scholarship money, right? And which, I had really good grades to get scholarship, but I still had to pay for books and administrative fees, and there was other things. I didn't pay for everything, it didn't pay for everything. It was still big bucks. And you get out of that crap and you go for a job, and the first thing the guys tell you, what's your work experience? So somebody with work experience, it's like, how do you get work experience? It's like catch 22. How do you get work experience, man? You know, it's like somebody's got to freaking just hire you on a chance, and then you wind up doing the shittiest work or you got to put extra hours in. That's a lot of the garbage too. Um, that sucks, man. It really does. And the one thing my opinion is this: if you could make, if somebody's going to hire you, just a little common sense, somebody's going to hire you, they got to make sure they get a percentage profit out of whatever you're doing. Now, sometimes it's just going to have to work that way because you're going to have to go with a group as a team and work together with a group of people to make something, be part of something to make something work. A lot of times, if you're that damn talented that, say accounting really well or you know the legal system very well or whatever, you might as well just go off on your own and do your own crap. Or if you're a welder, do your own welding or do your own carpentry or whatever. But the deal is that people today, if you got to go do this type of stuff, there's a lot of government regulations now, even more so than back in the 60s, that you got to deal with. And that blows, man. I'm going to tell you, that's screwed up. And not only that, say you're self-employed, you got your estimated tax you pay all the time. You got your Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and the employer's side of it, and your unemployment tax, the 940s, 941s, the federal unemployment tax. All these bullshit forms you got to be freaking dealing with. It's stupid. And if you got a physical brick building that you're dealing with. You're going to have maybe commercial liability insurance, OSHA, safety requirements. You know, maybe you got to put an extra bathroom in because somebody's complaining about, I don't know, whatever. You know, other things like that. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing I think where millennials is kind of screwing up as a general trend. Um, Millennials think the government should freaking do more to solve problems. I'm going to tell you right now, the government's the problem, man. They are. Excess taxation. I can tell you, like in the state of New Jersey, where I grew up, they did not have a sales tax, I think, until 1966. And actually, there wasn't any sales tax in any place, in any states, before, I think, 1930. There might have been somewhere one state had a slight amount of it for certain things. But basically, sales tax came about in the 1930s. But even in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, more states adopted more stuff. And that's why you're having a hard time, because actually it's government that's screwing you up, man. It's actually, even the people that have businesses and they can't even hire anybody unless maybe you're 1099. That might be an angle. Go in there as a 1099. Don't actually go in there as, you maybe make an offer to the guy to work as a 1099 versus an actual employee. Because this way, he doesn't have to do, what do you call that? The, affordable health care and all that garbage. And you're thinking, well, maybe I only want all those benefits. Well, it's better than no money, damn it. I can tell you that right now. But me, as a boomer, they're saying 50% of the boomers think the government's doing too many things that should be left to business. Man, I'm way against government getting their ass involved in all kinds of shit. Now, one thing, too, for employment, is you could do this stuff on the side. I remember I was going to college, man, besides the stupid minimum wage jobs, which sucked. Where I actually made some money was fixing cars. Now, where did I learn fixing cars from? I had to fix my own car because I couldn't afford to have it freaking fixed by some shop. And then after a while, I started figuring out these jackasses were a bunch of damn liars. And, I'd read the book and learn how to do it. Trial and error, you know what I mean? I mean, maybe it's not as easy to do that today, cars per se, but just anything that you could do on the side is change that you can get. You could be doing, I don't know, fixing a shed, putting up a shed, for crying out loud, or any kind of thing where somebody needs some help, that's a retired person that needs some help fixing something on their house. Or you can just buy a welder from Harbor Freight for $100. Throw an ad in the paper someplace, maybe Craigslist or something, welder for hire. Practice on some freaking scrap metal in your backyard. Make a couple bucks here and there. I mean, all the little stuff adds up, man. And now I'm gonna tell you something about this garbage with the boomer generation too. These guys on the media. I know when I went to college, I didn't see any protests against the Vietnam War or hippies going around with signs and like this guy. I think a lot of that was going on in Southern California or certain universities, but the media hyped it up. Man, if you look at, newsreels today, which that's what it is, newsreels, right? It was on videotape. If of that generation, you think everybody was dressed like this. No, that's not true. I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't true, man. And I don't know what they did this even with the silent traditional generation from the 1930s. They're saying they're a bunch of moviegoers and party animals, drinking and flouting the law against prohibition, and while the economy was going down, in other words, the media is complicit in freaking making up lies about the average person. They always have been. This was not the norm. Now, if you look at this picture very carefully, look in the background, you find he's the only twit out there with a peace sign and a peace thing and make love not money sign with flowers on it, a flower shirt and long hair and all this weird shit in the whole damn picture. But you see, that's the media, right? They always got an agenda to push. And I never seen anybody drive around a bus like this, man. I don't know where the hell this crap if you look today, the '60s in YouTube, man, you'd be looking this crap up. So I mean, I know where some of the animosity comes against the boomer generation because I think the boomers were all doing this shit and they had everything handed to them while they destroyed everything. Just, I never seen this shit. I don't know where this crap came from. I mean, I guess it existed somewhere, and maybe like the media gets in there and go, man, there it is. The average person wasn't doing this shit. They're very conservative. Now, I also want to say something about health and reproductivity and all this kind of garbage. Um, First off, I think if you actually look at some of the older pictures, though, the hippie generation or the people from the '60s, you didn't see too many overweight people. You see a lot more overweight millennials, right? And it's not really, actually, everybody's overweight now. The whole trend in the United States is overweight. Now, a lot of that is because of the processed food and the toxins. The toxins in food and all the crap they put in food actually cause the body to have a reaction to it where fat traps toxins to protect the vital organs. A lot of people don't realize that. And, even all this junk with, people feeling not as bright and shiny and all this kind of garbage, a lot of it's from the freaking toxins in the food. Radiation probably coming from wireless communications and cell phones, too. I mean, that's what millennials are getting exposed to, man. And I think that actually is affecting the birth rate. There's less testosterone in males, the way than it used to be. And that's because they're screwing with everything. They're screwing with the water. They got, they're using plastics and everything today. And people are actually inside a lot more, too. That's another thing, too. If you look at the baby boomers, that was after World War II. That's why they came about. The economic swing all went to the USA. Now, if you look at what's going on today with the millennials, the birth rates are a lot lower. There's a lot more divorce. There's a lot more single parents and stuff. And, that's really not necessarily due to the economy 100%, partly due to the economy, but also social conditioning. Right now, they're trying to get the government again. Like, if you look in New Jersey, which is where I was originally from, today, the biggest industry, the most popular industry in there, is like family counseling and stuff. In other words, the government gets involved, as a social worker or something, in family counseling or counseling their kids, giving people drugs. It's a big industry. And of course, that knocks out productivity and creativity, too, at the same time, and ambition. So, actually, if you took out all the unnatural stuff that we're exposed to today, except for like telecommunications and stuff, which I think is great. In other words, where you can look up stuff on the internet or order a product on the internet that's hard to find. Like if you used to have to go, before there was an internet, you had to find something that was very unique, like a part to fix your air compressor or something. It was a pain, man. You'd have to go down to some special store, get a catalog book, be hunting through it. Today it's real easy. Go on the internet, boom, and you find it and you just order it, man. That's like great. I think that's great. But some aspects of having fast communications is great. But the other side of it is we're bombarded with toxins and poisons, and actually even radiation or whatever, microwaves, whatever it is, from our cell phones and wireless communications, which are affecting our health. Even LED bulbs, which you see all over the place now, you can't even order incandescent bulbs. Incandescent bulbs use more energy, but you know what? LED bulbs are bad for the physiology. If you're indoors a lot, and the area where you're indoors, you should be using incandescent light, especially where the area is where you're mainly at, because the LED is bad for your physiology. I'm not saying not to use LEDs, but you don't want to be under them all the time. And this affects millennials, man. This affects them all the way. Now, another thing I want to even talk about the past generation. I think the one guy that really screwed up things the worst and actually turned this whole nation upside down is not the guy on the right of the picture, but the guy on the left, LBJ. Mr. Jealous of John F. LBJ was jealous of John F. Kennedy And you know all the theories about what happened there, right? How he's probably complicit in him, you know, John F. Kennedy being assassinated. But the deal is that LBJ, man, he was the beginning of the end. In other words, he's the guy that pushed for the Vietnam War, or went along with the people that pushed for the Vietnam War. He started the Great Society, where the government sunk gazillions of dollars into people that didn't produce, man. In other words, what you really want to do is you want to give the money to the people that are most hungry for the money. They'll do the most for the money. You just can't throw money at a problem. That's what LBJ was doing with his Great Society. He was throwing money at a problem. But the more money the government spends, the more the banks make, right? You see, and also LBJ was pro-CIA, FBI, all this garbage, whereas John F. Kennedy was against all these alphabet soup agencies and secret societies. LBJ was all part of it. That's really where the country started taking a bad turn. But was that the fault of the boomers? No, no. That's beyond the boomers, you know what I mean? It was the fault of the people behind the power behind the scenes. But the ones that are actually screwing over the millennials today are the people that are the power behind the scenes. That's absolutely fact. But I can also say though, these dipstick freaking hippies. Well, I remember this. Even I never saw anybody like this screwed up way back when, but I know there was some people sort of like this back in the '60s and the '70s. And man, I couldn't stand these kind of jackasses, man. I couldn't stand them. I hated their guts, man. I tell you the truth. And because they're a me generation too. They're a me generation. But you look at millennials today are kind of a mixed bag. There's some people that are like traditionalists. They're like the same as the people back in the 1930s. They do everything on their own. But there's more of them that just want something handed to them. And that just ain't the way it happens, man. It's just the way it ain't going to happen that way. But unfortunately, if you want to freaking do something today, it's like you got 8 million freaking regulations where you can't do something. As a matter of fact, I'll give you an example. I know they lifted this law, but for a while in New Jersey, if you wanted to go shovel snow to make money during a snowstorm, and I'm not talking about shoveling snow as, I'm gonna shovel snow and use a snow plow to clear the parking lot in an apartment building. I'm talking about, say you're a 15-year-old kid or something, and you wanted to go make some money just going around shoveling snow. Or say you're 22 and you want to go make money shoveling snow, because there's a snowstorm. They used to have like a $400 permit was required in the state of New Jersey that was only good for like a year. Now, Governor Christie, when he was governor, finally lifted that bullshit. But it's just an example of the kind of garbage whereby the government's actually screwing over your freaking job opportunities. They are, man. They're the ones that are really screwing the shit up. I wish this chart amongst the boomers and the silent generation was more like 99% say screw the government, 1% or less than 1% think the government's okay. Better let 100% say screw the government, because that is the problem, man. As a matter of fact, even during the time of the 1930s, when they had the work, what the hell was that? The work program that FDR put out. That also caused more problems. They pushed the gasoline tax. They were screwing around with prohibition. I know that ended in 1933, but that didn't help. That didn't help. They still had the stupid income tax, which is dragging down people. The more money, the more money they let you keep, the more incentive you got to get some money. It's kind of, and you know what? This sucks too. Education. I know there's more. I mean, I remember like when I went for a major. I had my major was in accounting and a major in mathematics. Right. I had 30 credits in mathematics and 28 in accounting. Right, which is over what you need. But or at 30 and 30. I forgot what it was exactly. But I had two majors. Right. But first off, when you have a major in mathematics, there's no job that was directly, well, I guess now, maybe today it would be more correlated because of the computer industry, but there was no computer industry except for IBM cards back then. But the deal is, you know, even the stuff they taught in accounting, it didn't really, it was way different when you're actually in the workforce, you know? In other words, you're teaching a theory in a textbook, and it's the same thing that's going on in the real world, but the mechanizations are way different. You know, it's like you're against a bunch of timetables in the real world, and there's a lot of there's a lot of more there's a lot more details you get involved in than what's in a textbook. And you know, most of the time, even in college, they make you buy a bunch of books because some dipstick teacher, professor, is tied in with that book financially. So they make you buy all these books, so that guy gets a kickback. And a lot of these professors, the only reason they're teaching is because they couldn't make it out in the real world. You know, I remember people telling me, I know now it's Price Waterhouse, Ernst, or some. Before it was just Price Waterhouse and the big eight accounting firms. You know, this guy would be like, "Oh, I used to work for Price Waterhouse for 2 years." But then after a while, I started thinking to myself, "Well, how come he's still not working for him?" Well, he was ousted, and then, you know, he's not doing accounting anywhere else. He goes to a university and teaches. So in other words, a lot of times you get teachers that are flunkies, and they're teaching you what to do. You know what I mean? The other side of it is, if you're so talented or you get so good at something, and you might want to just do the crap on your own. You know, but the one problem is the government is constantly like looking over your back, and you know, even if you were to do something simple like doing handiwork or something on the side, or whatever it is, like to repair something for some people that need help repairing something. I don't know. Maybe it's I don't know, putting screens on a window or something. You know, whatever. And you know, if they need help doing that, you still got to watch for all the bullshit that could possibly come back at you. Like today, you know, it's like anything you do, you know, you could have your customer could be a whiner that can blame you on something. I mean, you could be, say you're doing something on a car, so you put a muffler on a car, and then the car doesn't start or some bullshit next month, and the guy or the female or the guy or whatever blames you because you put a muffler on a car. It has something to do with the car not starting, and you know what I mean. You got to watch out for shit like that. You got to watch out for crap like that, and that's one thing that sucks about working for yourself too. You know, but I could say this though. Um, I probably know way more. I know millennials generally don't know that much about how to do stuff on their own, all these little different things. Now, me personally, I know way more than most of the people in my generation and the people that are in the traditional generation. I know how to do a lot of stuff, even though I'm mostly like an office desk jockey type person. I know how to do a lot of stuff. I mean, I got old cars I've got for decades that they don't see no mechanics. I fix them only. I just do a little bit of garbage here and there and stuff, but you know, I do. You know, I could build stuff. I could do electrical work. I could do some plumbing. Um, what else? Do some welding, whatever. You know, roofing, different things. Put up fences and sheds, junk like that. I could do stuff like that. A lot of people, they don't know how to do that. You know, I mean, I know to use knives and axes, chainsaws. I don't know, I rebuilt some chainsaws, some partially, just recently. You know, a lot of people don't know, and you know, nobody really taught me how to do this. It's like, you know, one thing I do like about, you know, the internet is like if you got to look up, you know, the owner's manual or the parts manual on something, you can figure it out, right? You got a diagram. Before, it was like you couldn't even go online to order the catalog. You know what I mean? You have to go in a telephone book to find something, to go to somebody that might have a catalog on something. It was like painstaking process to get any kind of information on anything. Today, it's like way better with the information. But then you got to take this information and you got to apply it hands on. That's one of the big pitfalls of these millennials because they're not doing that. Now, I know in my generation, I mean, people that were even like growing up in the 1930s and 40s, they don't even know the kind of stuff I know. I go old school all the way. Well, like I said, I couldn't stand the hippie types way back in the boomer time, but generally speaking, you didn't see that kind of garbage. I don't remember seeing any of that kind of shit in my college where I was at. I didn't see any around my neighborhood or none of that garbage. I didn't see anybody around in the park and stuff when we used to, play ball and stuff. I didn't see none of that junk. So I don't know what the hell, but they make it sound like it's all over the place today. They say that's just the generation of the boomers. Make love, not money. Yeah, yeah, right. Actually, this guy here with this sign, "Make love, not money," guarantee you some greedy bastard with a suit today, and he's got short hair and or maybe he's got a goatee or something. You know what I mean? I guarantee you that he's probably I don't know what he is today, but that never lasted. That never lasted. That's so facetious, it's beyond belief. But when you're like, the thing is, let me just recap with millennials. The one thing that's like nailing you the most, well, first off, is excess government regulations, because it makes it impossible for people to even hire you. This affordable health care crap, man, that was all for the insurance companies, and it makes it more difficult for employers to hire you. Number two, all these different rules about safety and oh yeah, you gotta have the workplaces safe and all this crap. It's like commercial liability insurance, workers' comp insurance, and junk. Every time an employer hires you, they got to pay the employer's side of Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. You know. Oh, by the way, Social Security gets in Medicare, Medicaid, and all that crap. If you're retired and you're getting Social Security and you're still working, right? First off, they could chop your Social Security way the hell down. Number two, you still got to pay Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid on your wages. It's screwed up, man. I mean, you think you get away with that shit? No, you don't. If you're 90 years old and you're still working, you still got to pay that shit. It don't matter. The people that are getting away with it, getting scamming on that crap, are people that maybe come over here and then they bring their grandparents over and never fucking put a dime into it, and they get Social Security. That's bullshit. I can tell you that screwed up. You wonder why the money's disappeared, Mr. and Mrs. Millennial? That's where it's going. For people that never were even over here, they just get it because they came over here because they're grandparents. You know what I mean? That's what's doing it. Now the other side of it is too, like I told you, with health. You look back. If you go look back, the '60s pictures. Like most people back then were not that fat. They were usually pretty thin or average weight. If you look today, I think it's something like way over half the millennials today are not even fit for military service for one reason or another. And the reason being is, part of it's for weight. But why is that? That's actually going on with everybody. It's going on with the boomers, the traditionalists, and everybody. It's because there's toxins and preservatives in the foods. Nothing we eat today is freaking natural. It's screwing the body up. And that's actually causing a lot of different health problems and stuff. And that's actually causing, I don't know, the attention deficit disorder, which is a bunch of BS itself, but you know what I mean. And then, of course, you got people out there that are psychs that are making a lot of money about passing out drugs, which doesn't help millennials. If you ever run any kind of these drugs for attention deficit disorder, you probably got half your freaking ambition knocked out of you almost permanently. Who knows? So that's really what's doing it, man. That's what's doing it. But the game of the freaking elite on the top is always to pit one group against another group. Millennials against the boomers, Or the boomers were pitted against the traditional generation back then. That was the game they were doing back then. Or maybe today, the Generation X doesn't like the boomers or the millennials or the other way around or whatever. It's a bunch of games. Everything's really not much changed. But you got to look at overall what the powers behind the scenes are doing. You know, that's what the problem is. In other words, when you pay a lot of money for education, what the hell are you really getting out of it, man? You know? I mean, even today, like, I remember when I went to school, though, I can tell you one thing that was really good about where I went was I learned a lot of history about what was really going on with the big power behind the scenes. Like, I was aware that, like, even during this Vietnam War, that we were giving money to Russia, which in turn was helping China, which in turn was helping North Vietnam. It was big business. That's all it was. You know, I mean, I was aware of what was going on, how even certain groups in the United States were trading with the Germans in World War II, and nothing was said about that. And what happened in World War One, how we actually got the sinking of Lusitania, what happened with remember the Maine Spanish-American War of 1898. I was aware of a lot of that stuff from when I was taught in school, even back in high school, because of the type of school I went to private school. Teachers back then told me a lot of this stuff. But me being aware of that doesn't mean I was a hippie. No, because these guys were sellouts. But then again, for the most part, this was exaggerated propaganda on a part of the media at that time, which was pitting the boomer generation against the traditionalists, or the silent generation, or whatever you want. Actually, I call them the traditionalists. Actually, what really has to happen is all generations, in other words, Generation Z, which is after the millennials, plus Generation X, and plus the boomers, need to go back to the fundamentals of the traditionalist. Then everything's solved. In other words, natural food, getting all the fluoride out of the damn water, and just getting out there and doing stuff. That fixes stuff. And it's like a little bit here and a little bit there all makes a difference. That's what it is. Nothing actually gets handed to you, man, unfortunately. And I do have to state, though, that one thing I really am really happy about, and I know they showed the millennials showing the tablets, right now, I'm doing a video looking at a damn computer, right? But one thing I'm really appreciative of today is the amount of communications we got. I mean, it used to be so ridiculously difficult to try to find something out or to get something that I needed to fix something before. I mean, today I'm of the opinion I'll probably, if I ever get a new car, it's probably going to be a 40s or 50 something car, and I'll just roll with that for the next so many decades, because I know all this stuff. I can get all this stuff off the internet anytime I want, and that's a big plus. That's a big plus. I picked up a couple chainsaws recently, and they were old made in USA McCulloughs, the yellow ones. Yeah, I fixed them up, did the stuff myself, right? And I didn't know how to fix these damn things. I was like, I know some mechanical stuff, but it kind of overlaps into fixing chainsaws. But hey, I got them going good. They're going good. They work fine. And in the future, I got plans for that up in the Tennessee property I got, which is going to be for cutting firewood, or maybe making buildings out of that stuff, which you can use the chainsaw for, But, it's good to have the communication, so if you need to figure something out or get some part, it's great, man. I mean, I got to admit that. But then again, you don't want to have your nose constantly in a freaking tablet, cell phone, or a computer all the time, Unless you're really digging for some kind of information that you really need. But just for freaking fluff and fun, it ain't worth it. And I noticed on YouTube, some of the stuff, man, I just got to comment on this. This is one thing I realized, that the whole generation in the United States is probably going to crap. I look at, in YouTube, they got your subscriptions, and they got home, which is sort of like what they recommend to you, which a lot of that stuff I don't like, but sometimes they do. And then they got trending. And trending is the junk I hate. I don't know, maybe it's trending amongst other people, but definitely not amongst me. Because when I look at the stuff under trending, it's the most superfluous BS going. In other words, I usually look for something concrete that can help me out. You know what I mean? I like looking up information, but something that can help me out. Then I like getting on hands-on, doing it, creating it, or doing whatever I need to do. That's why I like the communications. But I noticed a lot of the communications are just used for fun and games, or just trivia garbage. It doesn't do any good. And that's I mean, YouTube is just going along with whatever the audience wants, but maybe the audience mainly is millennials. I don't know. But man, I look at whatever's trending. Trending is just some of the dumbest stuff going. And I know, like, I got another channel out there that probably got hardly no views on it. It's called the American Russian Survival Channel, and I just throw some junk on there, how to do stuff once in a while. Little bullshit. I know that's probably got zero millennial interest. Maybe, I don't know, maybe few do, but not many. It's usually stuff like, you can take a plastic trash can liner with you if you're out on a motorcycle, or even if you're out there in the woods. You can use that as a wind protector, a rain suit or something. And it can be wrapped up in your pocket as an emergency, and it only costs you, 20 cents, a full-size trash can liner. You can make a little jacket out of it, you know what I mean? I mean, it's stuff like that. I mean, I just think of something off the top of my head. Or like the special sewing oil, how you can sew leather onto your boot and make a knife holder for it or something, junk like that. And using a kerosene lamp, using diesel in it, how you can do that. That's the lamp and also the heater. How to redneck fix your welder or something. If you got a bad wire feed on your welder, you can sometimes you can bypass it with a separate power source, which I did on one of my old crappy Chinese welders. I fixed it, still works, man. That stupid thing still works. That's the kind of junk I usually put out, and I don't know, millennials don't like that stuff. Whatever. Anyway, but I can tell you right now, man, it's like when people are back, the traditionalists, when they were in the 1930s, there was no jobs around then. I think there was there was millions of people that actually starved back then too. You know that? There was no like food assistance, in the 1930s. People just died. And if you're a millennial, I mean, I don't know. Like I just said, man, I remember when I got out of college, I mean, I was pissed off because I was like, what the hell, these assholes keep asking me what the hell is my work experience? And I'm saying, I got out of college, what do you mean work? We need work experience, And then, of course, when you get work experience, they still try to chew you down. You know what I mean? But you got to get savvy, and then you start figuring out the games, because you got to play those jackasses against each other, and usually that works. So, anyway, but if you got talent and you know how to do something, better off working for yourself. Screw looking for a job. But just beware of all the governmental pitfalls that you can run into with working for yourself. That's 99% of the problem. Back in the 1930s, everybody was pretty much working for themselves. 1920s, everybody's working for each other, for themselves. There wasn't too many factory workers out there as much as you'd think. Today, everybody's working for some damn company. And that's why is that way? Because of all the government crap, government regulation. So, I mean, that's one area I should criticize the millennials for, because they're thinking the government's the answer. It's actually that's been your pitfall, man. And this jackass on the left, LBJ, not the guy on the right was the good guy, JFK. That was the big turning point in the 60s and early 60s. when this guy LBJ took over and the Kennedy assassination happened. But you know, that was out of the control of the boomers. I mean, everybody pretty much knew that, you know, Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't the guy that did it. But you know what? If you look on the media, you know, Bill Mayer, whatever his damn name is, or some big wigs, comedians, they mock you for that crap. You know what I mean? Now we all know because they released the JFK files that, you know, JFK was not killed by the lone gunman, right? He was a lot more involved in it. But that was the big turning point when things started going down. But it was not the boomers that were creating this crap. It was stuff behind the being boomers. But again, I just want to reiterate, everybody, no matter what generation it is, they got to go thinking like the people from the 1930s. All generations. Do your shit on your own as much as possible. I can tell you, me personally, I know more stuff than the people from the 1930s, man. I do, and you can see what I even put out on my. I don't put everything out on my videos that I do, you know. But you can see on my videos, I put out a lot of how-to, self-reliant videos. And you know, I'm a boomer, right? So I know this stuff. But where did I know it from? I had to figure it out, man. It's like it just doesn't fall off a freaking tree. You know what I mean? I mean, when I was fixing cars going to college, my dad never was a mechanic. He didn't even know how to fix any cars, man. He knew how to change the tire and shit, string up the muffler if it fell off. But he didn't know how to fix cars. I was fixing his car, you know? So, I mean, where did I learn it from? I don't know. I just kept freaking trying until I figured it out. It's like, you know, if you don't know welding, go down to Harbor Freight, spend $100-something bucks, get a welder, and start practicing on some scrap metal. Eventually, you'll figure it out. Read the book. Wear eye protection, wear gloves, and all that garbage, you know? Read the book. We'll figure it out. It's a matter, it's a learning curve, man. You know? It's like anything. Sometimes it's great if somebody teaches you, but nobody teaches you. It's on you, man. That's how it was with me. People didn't teach me 99% of the shit I know, man, to tell you the truth. Even when I'm doing accounting, and I was setting up some of the databases and junk, I was the guy coming up with these ideas that freaking saves us some serious money. I was the guy that set up the some of the most complicated construction software for doing large projects and stuff, and writing special reports for it. It was me. Man, I caused a lot of people to get fired just by working extra hard and grabbing all what they did. If people aren't willing to do that, well, that's what got me some money. It's called work. But that's why I don't like looking at some crap on YouTube that says trending, because to me it's nonsense. I don't know, maybe that's the problem. You know, most people are just possessed by freaking concentrating on nonsense. You know, if you want to know what really changed in the 60s, what ruined everything, at the very, very top of the government, I'd say LBJ. Mr. Vietnam War himself, the military-industrial complex, Huey helicopter, and the Great Society. He destroyed America, man. That was the beginning of the end right there. It wasn't actually the freaking boomer generation. The boomers all supported John F. Kennedy. That's what we wanted.